Hi folks, this is Chef Kevin, and if you're into cooking quail eggs, then you should watch this video because I'm pretty sure it can be really helpful for you. Now, a lot of people like quail eggs. They're actually more nutritious than a regular egg, but it's quite different in construction than a regular egg. Let's take a closer look. Okay, so here we have a quail egg. Of course, it's much smaller than a regular egg, but it's also different in construction because under the shell you have a very thin membrane, and that membrane is very difficult to take off by hand. So it's a lot easier to do by a machine. Now, when I first started doing the hard-boiled eggs, after I hard-boiled it, I would put it on the table and just roll it back and forth to crack it. This is not hard-boiled, so I don't want to crack it right now. And then what I would do is I'd take this very sharp, small knife and peel off the small end and just peel it back. Of course, that was fairly time-consuming and frustrating. So what I did is I bought this machine on eBay, $50, and it has the hand crank. You clamp it to the table with a little clamp they give you, so you can do it with one hand. Now how it works basically is it has two rollers that are rubber coated on the inside, and as you turn the handle, the rollers go in opposite directions, and what it does is it catches the shell and strips it off. Does a very good job. You have to use pre-cracked eggs. Now, how I pre-crack them, I don't do them one at a time because that would be way too time consuming. So what I do is I put them in this plastic container. I put about 8 or 10 in this plastic container, fill it up with a couple of inches of water, and just shake it up. That way they crack. You have to do that with whatever machine you buy. You have to pre-crack them. Okay, the next machine I bought is this one here. This is basically the same as the last one I showed you, but it has a motor, and the motor only turns one way. It has a plug here, not a plug, it has a switch here, on and off. This is my favorite machine. I do like it a lot. You can load 5 eggs, and all you have to do is press them down. Press down the egg and then try to let it rotate at the same time, and they'll just come off. Works really well. I do like 70 eggs in like about less than 3 minutes. So if you're doing, a fairly decent amount of eggs every week, I would suggest this one here. Now this one is fine if you're doing a dozen eggs here and there and you don't want to invest the money. The last one I showed you was $100. This is the $50 one. But it's fine if you're just going to do it once in a while. Okay, the other machine I have here, I bought this off Amazon, and it's made by Vavor. This is a $200 machine. And how it works basically is instead of having 2 rollers that travel in opposite directions, you have a large spiral tube right there that has another tube woven around that in a spiral direction. So what you do after you turn it on, you put the egg on the left side of the chute, and it will travel down to the right, and then by the time it gets to the right it'll be peeled and it comes out here. The shells come out in this tray here. It's easy to clean. Problem is, after about a dozen eggs or so, you have to stop the machine. And what I don't like about this is it's fairly heavy, and it takes up a lot of my counter space. One good thing about it is you can hook it up to a water source, and as the eggs get peeled, they get washed at the same time, so you don't have to wash them in a colander. That's what I usually do. I wash them in a colander or a strainer to get the little bits and pieces of shell fragments off. Another thing I don't like about this machine is the fact that you can only put one egg in at a time. You have to start on the left. If you start on the right, you're not going to have, the egg's not going to have enough time to roll around and get stripped. So you can only put one in at a time. That's not that great. The other machine I showed you, the last bigger machine, you can put 4 or 5 in there, press them down, and they'll come right out. Another thing I don't like about this is it's a little harder to clean. You have to put this in the sink and hold it so that the shell fragments come out. It's a lot harder to clean than the other two. And frankly, the one that I showed you here before, I'll show you again. This thing is heavy, boy. You really can't go wrong with this one here, because it's fast, it's efficient, it's easy to clean. You do have to hold it under the faucet, and you have to turn it on a couple of times to get the rollers clean. This one here is probably the easiest to clean, and the rollers, you can turn the rollers in the opposite direction and the shell fragments fall out. But this one here, I didn't have a problem having it clog up either. So, you know, if you're gonna do a couple of hundred eggs, this would be the one to do. Okay, well, thanks for watching the video. I have a bunch of recipes on my YouTube cooking channel, pickling eggs and using them as hors d'oeuvres and such. And at the end of this video, I'm going to reference how I use these two individually. You'll see the operation and how it works. So if you're considering to buying one of these machines, this is going to be a really helpful video for you. Thanks again.